Hello, welcome to another Disney Q&A. Ellie and I just got back from another Disney trip. We stayed 2 nights club level at the Grand Casino Tower at Coronado Springs, and then 2 nights at Boardwalk Villas. I asked you guys over on Instagram what questions you had about our trip, so we've got a lot of questions to go through. Some of these I'm gonna go rapid fire, and then others I have some pretty strong opinions about. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, first question, need the deets on the differences of club level lounge at moderate and deluxe. There is actually no difference. You get exactly the same thing when you stay at the Grand Casino Tower, which is the only moderate resort that offers club level as you do at the deluxe resorts. You still get breakfast, afternoon snacks, and dinner, desserts. All of your alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks are included, and you get your own private check-in experience, private concierge staff. Everything is exactly the same. It's just at a lower price point because it's a moderate resort. Do you think the club level is worth it at Coronado Springs? Love to try new seasonal items in the parks. If your goal is to try all the new snacks and all the new foods at the Flower and Garden Festival, for instance, you probably won't feel like you're getting the most value out of the club lounge offerings, no matter where you stay, no matter what resort you're staying club level. So where I think you get the most value out of club level and where I feel like it's really worth it is if you do plan on spending a lot of time at your resort and you take advantage of breakfast and dinner. That's really where you get the most value and where I think it's really worth it. Thoughts on Caribbean Beach versus Coronado for a family trip with a 3-year-old in May. Caribbean Beach, you have the perk of being right on the Skyliner. So you have really easy access to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. You also don't have to break down your stroller if it can fit on the Skyliner, of course, which is a huge pro. So you're really close to those 2 parks. And with Coronado, you only have bus access. That's really the biggest con with Coronado. I didn't think the bus time itself felt super long, but you don't have any other options to get to any of the parks. So if buses are not your thing and you feel like, man, I'm really gonna get tired of breaking down that stroller and like getting on and off buses every single day, multiple times a day if you're coming back for a midday break, for nap time, like, I don't know, that might be a huge factor when you're traveling with little ones specifically. I think having the ease of transportation to and from Epcot and Hollywood Studios over at Caribbean Beach is worth paying. You pay slightly more to stay at Caribbean Beach than you do Coronado. That's really the biggest difference is transportation. Both have a really great playground. Ooh, and the one con of Coronado is that it doesn't have any kind of splash pad. So if you like to spend a lot of time at the pool, I would go Caribbean Beach because they have a really fun shipwreck themed splash pad for little ones. And I think that is another pro and con of both of these resorts is the pool setup. Review of the Reef sandals. Okay, I had purchased some new sandals for this trip. If you watched my prep with me vlog and my packing video, I shared about the sandals and I was very impressed. I will say on the first day that I wore them, I didn't break them in. So rookie mistake right there, but I wore them for a couple hours around the resort to kind of try it out before I went to a park. So I think give it a try before you wear it to a park with any shoe, any sandal, no matter what. And it rubbed like a little bit on my pinky toe. It wasn't anything crazy, but then after those first couple of hours, it was totally fine. And it, no joke, felt like I was walking on a marshmallow. They were so comfortable. So once you get past the first couple of hours and it like rubs just a little bit on your toes, like I was totally fine after that. And I think they're great Disney sandals because they're waterproof and they're still really cute and they come in a variety of colors. So highly recommend the Reef sandals. I was very impressed. I want to hear all of your thoughts on Cinderella's royal table. There were so many questions wanting a review and my thoughts on Cinderella's royal table. So I do have an entire vlog of our experience coming very soon, but until that vlog comes out, I will say it wasn't my favorite character meal experience. It would actually rank pretty low for me. And I hate saying that because you're spending so much money and it's kind of the coveted, you know, princess breakfast at Disney World and it's very nostalgic to eat in the castle. Like that whole atmosphere is so incredible, but that is really what you're paying for, is just to eat in the castle. So if you're looking for phenomenal food and incredible service, like I think there are other restaurants that rank way higher for me, other signature restaurants. And the princess interactions weren't the greatest, which is so sad. Again, like you're spending so much money to do this breakfast, and we only saw 3 of the princesses. We saw Merida, Ariel, and Jasmine, and it was very rushed. We were almost done with our food by the time they came up to our section, and it was just boom, 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 hand you the check, and they kind of rush you out. And we actually didn't even get to meet Cinderella when we came into the restaurant. She wasn't there for whatever reason, so we were told that we would get to meet her when we were leaving, but when we came down to exit the restaurant and meet Cinderella down in that waiting area, the line was out the door. We stood there for about 30 minutes to meet Cinderella, and I finally asked a cast member if there was anything we could do to speed up the line or let those who didn't get to meet Cinderella coming into the restaurant kind of take priority over those who were just walking into the restaurant to meet her for the first time. And they said, well, let's go ahead and take you over to Fairy Tale Hall, and we can just put you through the lightning lane to go meet Cinderella over there. So that was a little disappointing, because meeting Cinderella in the castle is obviously part of the experience of what you're paying for. And so they walked us over to Fairy Tale Hall. So we got to meet Elena, Cinderella. We still had to wait about 10-15 minutes in the lightning lane. So it ended up taking about 45-50 minutes just for the whole meeting Cinderella experience. The whole experience just wasn't what I was expecting. When you're spending, again, that much money, you have a certain standard in your mind of what it should be. So I'm excited for you guys to see the vlog footage so you can see firsthand kind of what I'm talking about and just the whole experience from start to finish. But if I could recommend a princess dining to splurge on, I would suggest Akershus over at Epcot. We did that one last summer, and I was really impressed. The princesses came by twice. The food was incredible. The service was outstanding. And you still get that same kind of like castle atmosphere, like you're in a castle, even though it's not Cinderella's castle. But I think, again, for the money that you're paying, I say go Akershus. I think it's just a better experience. So those are my thoughts on Cinderella's royal table. Part of me is thinking I'm never gonna do it again, but then the other part of me wants to experience dinner to see if it's any different and we just were there on an off day. I don't know. Those are my thoughts on Cinderella's royal table breakfast. Okay, first time planner, where to start? I will link my 2024 Disney vacation planning guide video down below in the description box. That way you can walk through step by step exactly how to plan out your Disney vacation. I walk you through the process in this video, and I break it up into kind of bite-sized pieces, and you can kind of go step by step in the planning process, and you hear everything in one video. If you're new to the Disney planning process, it can seem a little overwhelming, so definitely go check that out. Okay, Coronado or Wilderness Lodge club level. I'm gonna go Wilderness Lodge every time, hands down. But I realize that is a very nostalgic resort for me, and I have a lot of memories at Wilderness Lodge, so I know that can kind of sway my opinion a little bit, but I also love the location of Wilderness Lodge if I had to pick Coronado or Wilderness, because you're so close to Magic Kingdom and you can hop on a boat. So that is a huge pro for me, and I just love the ambiance and the atmosphere of Wilderness Lodge. I love the pool, the splash pad, all of the dining there, like everything about Wilderness I love, and I do love their club level. I personally enjoyed the food a little bit more at Wilderness, just my personal taste. They have like short ribs and barbecue and breakfast sausage and those kind of foods as compared to Spanish style tapas that you'll find in the Kronos Club at Coronado. You're gonna find foods that are a little more adventurous in the Kronos Club because they do stay on theme with the Grand Destino Tower, and I felt like they had a few more kid-friendly food options at the Wilderness Lodge club level. They had a little TV with kids tables there, and that wasn't something that they offered in the Kronos Club. So I also have that perspective as well, thinking about what's a good fit for a 4-year-old. So that's why I would still pick the Wilderness Lodge club level over the Kronos Club at Grand Destino Tower. Both are incredible. I mean, it's club level, you can't go wrong. It's amazing no matter what though. Was the pool at Coronado Springs toddler, preschooler friendly? Not really. They have more of a little kiddie pool, and it was pretty shallow, and then in the center there were like some little fountains. So I think because of how shallow it is and the fountains are so small, it's a great fit for babies and little toddlers. So when I took Ellie when she was 14 months old, this was great. Like, it was amazing being able to just set her in the water. You know, it's only a few inches deep, and she was walking but not really walking. So it was a really good fit for her at that age, like that baby toddler age. But for a preschooler, Ellie walked in that area and she saw a bunch of like 1 and 2 year olds, and she was like, can we go? And so I think it felt a little too baby for her. And there really wasn't another great option for little kids preschool age that aren't swimming yet but are out of the baby toddler years. So we ended up just hanging out on the staircase, and I put a life jacket on her, and she just like kind of jumped off the stairs and would climb back up. And so we still had a good time, we still had fun, but there's no splash pad, there's no slide built for little kids, and you can't go down the slide with an adult. You can only send your child down the main slide by themselves, and if they're not swimming, that can be a little nerve-wracking, and they may not even want to go down that big slide. I do think there are other moderate resorts that offer a better pool and splash pad setup for older toddlers and preschoolers than what Coronado Springs offers. Hotel setup and how to share a room with a toddler. This is so specific for every family. I know some families still put their toddlers in a pack and play, and you can use the bathroom and kind of close that area off. We did that with Ellie till she was about 2.5, almost 3, like to where she couldn't fit in a pack and play anymore. That was as far as we could push it. So that worked really well for us for a very long time. And then she grew out of the pack and play, and we had to move her to a traditional bed. She really loves that pull down fit sleeper bed if we are in a room that offers that. But what I do now to make it work is, whether she's in a regular queen size bed or in that pull down fit sleeper bed, I turn off all the lights, I make it as dark as possible, I turn on our sound machine, and I tell her, it's quiet time, lay down, be still, you know. And I have to lay down too. If she sees me up and folding clothes and in and out of the bathroom, she's not gonna fall asleep, like unless she's just totally exhausted. But if it's a regular afternoon, I have to be laying down in bed, and I'll either just scroll on my phone, put my headphones in, I will do some editing on my laptop, but I have to be in bed for her to roll over and kind of like chill out. So that's how we make it work. And I know other families use slumber pods, and you can use a blow up toddler size bed and put the slumber pod over the toddler bed. So there are a lot of different ways you can configure your sleeping arrangements and share a room with a toddler, but you kind of have to use trial and error a little bit to figure out what works good for your family and your toddler specifically. You may try one strategy on day 1 and realize, okay, this did not work at all. We need to try something different on day 2. But again, it's just gonna look different for every family and every child. How do you decide where to stay each trip? This is tough, because if this wasn't my job, I would just pick my favorite resort and stay there every time, or I would just rotate through my top 2 or 3 resorts and just do that. But because this is my job, I do want to share a variety of different resorts and room setups and different accommodations and trip styles, and so I try to mix it up more frequently than if, again, this wasn't my job. I'm looking at it through the lens of what resort have I gotten a lot of questions about that I haven't stayed at recently. So on my last trip, for instance, we did a night at Polynesian, and the reason we did that night was because I was getting an overwhelming amount of questions about this resort, and I hadn't stayed there in years. So I knew that staying there and providing a room tour, documenting a one-night vlog at this resort would be really helpful, and those videos performed really well. So I really tried to base where I stay off of what I'm getting a lot of questions about, and also if I haven't stayed at a resort yet, then it's nice to be able to kind of check that off of my list. That's pretty much how I decide where we're gonna stay, and I just try to rotate through, like, where have I not stayed in a while, Or what am I getting a lot of questions on right now? Planning a triple split stay with 3 girls at 3 resorts. I'm an agent and want experience. Am I crazy? Absolutely not. I do the same thing for content. So it's kind of the same, along the same lines as wanting the experience and being able to share with your clients, I'm sure, about these different resorts. So I love split stays. I think it's a great way to experience a lot of different resorts on one trip. And once you get a rhythm down with packing up and moving things over to your next resort, it's really not as intimidating as you would think. So I just leave everything in my suitcase and only take out what I need to take out instead of totally unpacking and then feeling like I have to totally repack. I utilize packing cubes really well. So I'm basically just, when it's time to move to our next resort, I'm just zipping up the packing cube and closing my suitcase, and that's pretty much it. And then I also have a catch-all, like reusable tote bag that I can throw anything that I don't have the room to pack in that moment or don't want to worry about. And I just throw it in this bag and I transfer it to our next resort. But you definitely get in a rhythm with it after that first resort change. You kind of figure out like, okay, I got this. But no, you are not crazy for doing a triple split stay. Do you find it difficult to film while still being in the moment, especially with a toddler? That is the constant struggle for me, having to juggle YouTube content, also filming content for Instagram on my phone while pushing a stroller, navigating the parks, and also being a mom and tending to whatever Ellie needs. If we need to make a potty break, she needs a snack, she spilled something. It is a lot to navigate, and there are moments where I feel very overwhelmed and I just can't get the video. Like, my daughter will always come first and my camera is always secondary to my daughter, obviously. It's definitely a challenge to still be in the moment while also filming content. I think because we go so often though, it doesn't quite feel like we're on vacation, if that makes sense. It does feel like I'm here for work and we also get to have fun, but it's always going to be a lot to navigate when I travel alone with my daughter, and really trying to keep a good balance between enjoying being there with her and making sure she's having fun, but also this is how I earn a full-time income. And so I've got to get the video, you know. So finding a healthy balance between the two, but it is never easy. How did you get your daughter to stay awake and happy for after hours? This has been my most asked question from this trip. Basically, I try to set our day up well leading into after hours. So after we did like 2 hours in the park that morning, we came back to the room for nap time. Ellie napped for about an hour and a half, which is pretty good for her at 4 years old. She really doesn't nap here at home anymore. So an hour and a half nap at Disney is fantastic for her. And then we hung in the room and watched movies, and I got out a little toy basket and we played in the room and just relaxed from about 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then we got on the bus and went to Magic Kingdom to check into the event at 7 o'clock. So that way, by the time we left Coronado, Ellie was like, she had all this energy. We had just been sitting in the room basically from, I guess it was like 2, we got back at like 1. So basically from 1 to 6, we were in the room. So she was pretty stir crazy. And, you know, we did go up to the Kronos Club lounge to get some dinner and get some food. By 7 o'clock when we got to Magic Kingdom, she had all the energy, she was ready to go. But that is my number one recommendation, is to set your day up well, whether you're just doing a late night at Disney or the after hours event with your kids. Okay, next question. How was the boardwalk at night? Did it get loud? So we did have a boardwalk view room. So we were right there, right in the middle of all the entertainment and the music and, you know, but when we shut the door, I couldn't hear any of it. I was actually pretty impressed. So it was nice because we could open the door and have the ambiance of the boardwalk kind of come into our room as we were getting ready for bed. But then once we were in bed and the door was shut and the curtains were closed, you would have no clue that the boardwalk and all of the entertainment and The nightlife was going on directly below us. We couldn't hear a thing. So I was really impressed. I really enjoyed being right there on the boardwalk. It was really, really nice. Random, but do you bring your stroller in to meet Minnie and Daisy at Magic Kingdom or leave it outside? You do park your stroller outside. So down by that little tent, you'll park your stroller over there. How was the bus transportation from Coronado to the parks? Okay, I actually timestamped it on my phone. So let me pull it up. I timestamped it coming back from Magic Kingdom because we were leaving Grandestino. So you are actually the last pickup from Grandestino Tower, which is really nice. So they do all the pickups around the whole resort, and then the last stop is Grandestino, and then you go to the parks. So first thing in the morning, it was really nice. We got on a pretty crowded bus. We did have to stand, and we were at Magic Kingdom within, I think it was a 10-minute ride. It really wasn't long at all. I was expecting like a 20-minute ride for some reason. I don't know. I timed it and it was only about 10 or 11 minutes. So that was nice, but coming back from Magic Kingdom, you have to make all the stops around the whole resort, and then Grandestino is the last stop. So leaving Magic Kingdom, we left at 12:34. We arrived at Coronado at 12:44. So it was a 10-minute bus ride back to Coronado. And then after all the stops and letting people off the bus, we got back to Grandestino at 12:55. So 11 minutes to make all the stops around the resort. So it was 21 minutes total. So it really wasn't as bad as I think I was expecting or that I had heard it would be. You think, oh, you got to make all those stops. Like, I don't know. I was thinking, man, this is going to take like 45 minutes to an hour to get to and from the parks, but it wasn't bad at all. I was actually really surprised. Next question. My daughter loves princesses and we want to do all the characters. Any strategy tips? If you're wanting to do as many princesses as possible, I would go to Epcot. That is where you are going to find most of the princesses, and you'll walk around the World Showcase, and that's where you can find them. Just go to the app and you can filter through characters and it'll show you their locations around the World Showcase. And personally, I think going in the morning is the best way to do this because crowds are low in the World Showcase before the festival booths have opened, and a lot of the princess meet and greets start around 9:30, 10 a.m. So you can get kind of a head start before the crowds start coming back into the World Showcase, which is really nice. So that would be my tip. If you're wanting to check off as many princesses as you can, then go to the World Showcase, start by 9:30. I would be there by 9, and you can kind of work your way around the World Showcase. This next question is asking for a price breakdown. So I'm assuming of our entire trip, like what our whole trip costs. So let me know in the comments if that's something you would be interested in. I don't have all of the numbers right here in front of me, but I could definitely do another. I think I did this video a while back, like over a year ago, where I shared our whole trip budget and kind of broke down between like resort, transportation, flights, food, souvenirs, groceries. Like I went through everything and shared what our 5-day deluxe resort Disney trip was going to cost. So let me know if you'd be interested in me doing that video again. I could do another like budget video, or I could do like a go back and look at all of our receipts kind of video. So let me know if you would be interested in something like that. How were the crowds this time of year? It was really busy. The last time I remember crowds being like truly low was September, but since then it's been really, really busy. So I don't know if spring break crowds had fully started yet, but it was also, there was a marathon that had just happened prior to our trip. There was also a convention going on at Coronado. So there's always something, it feels like, and especially now you're heading into spring break and Easter, and it'll slow down a little bit going into May, and then summer crowds are a little bit lower, but now is a very busy time of year. Are you on a quest for all club levels now? That would be amazing. I would love to stay club level at all of the resorts. So far, I have done Boardwalk, Wilderness Lodge, Beach Club, and now Grandestino. So I've done 4 of them. I need to double check my list and see how many I have to go, but that would be really incredible. I don't know, we'll see. When's the next trip? I actually have my next trip coming up very soon. This is actually the most back-to-back, like the closest together trips that I've taken, I think, ever. So I don't know how I'm gonna feel going into this trip, but I'm really excited for it. We're gonna go for 5 nights, so it's another long-ish trip, 5 nights, 5 days. We're staying at 2 of my all-time favorite resorts, so you probably already know where we're gonna stay. And I'm excited. We're doing a lot of fun, new things on this trip. I try to keep it feeling really fresh and exciting, so that way I have new content to share, new experiences, new dining, and all kinds of fun stuff to share on the channel. But you will hear very soon when I start getting ready for this next trip. Would you still do split stays if it wasn't helpful for your job? I can't decide if it's too much. That's a really good question. I want to say yes, because I really do enjoy experiencing 2 very different resorts, and you almost feel like you get 2 vacations in one. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, but I also love being able to like fully unpack and settle into your room, especially with a little one. I don't know, I love when we stay in a room longer than 2 or 3 nights, and you have that feeling of like, oh, we're back in our room, like where you're fully settled in, you can unpack in the dresser drawers and like hang your things up. And when you're there for just a night or 2, you don't feel like you have as much liberty to do that, because you're like, well, I'm not gonna hang everything up, I'm gonna have to pack it back in the suitcase tomorrow or whatever. What we did for a long time, like when I first started my channel, we would stay somewhere budget friendly for the first portion of our trip. Like the first 5 or 6 nights we would stay at a value resort, or we would stay somewhere off property. And then we would splurge on our last night and move over to a deluxe resort, and we would stay like 1 night in a 1-bedroom villa at Saratoga or Wilderness Lodge or Grand Floridian, and feel like we still got the Disney deluxe experience, but we only paid for 1 night. So that's what we did, again, for a really long time before I started going really frequently. I want to say yes, that we would still do split stays, even if this wasn't my job. I just really enjoy having a couple of different resort experiences. I think it's a lot of fun. Best shoes for toddlers that don't give blisters. I love native shoes for Ellie. Those are my go-to park shoes, mostly because they can get wet, they're really breathable in the heat, and they're really comfortable. So really, whatever shoe your little one wears at home, bring those to Disney. Don't worry about trying to find like some cute little Disney character shoe, whatever. Like, just bring what's comfortable and what works well for your toddler and go that route. Will you please try and do a stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge? I have actually been thinking about this resort a lot. So let me know in the comments. Would you be interested in seeing a stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, a room tour, review, just that check-in process, like a overnight experience there? Let me know if that's something you would be interested in seeing. How were the new Boardwalk rooms? We are staying there in June. I loved the new rooms. I loved the renovation. I think they did such a great job. I know it's been a little controversial with some of the theming and kind of the direction they went with the renovation, but I really loved it, and personally, it bumped Boardwalk up on my list just because of the room. Like, I love a nice room, and with the renovation, it made me love Boardwalk even more. So I think they did a great job, and I think it just helps with the overall experience when you're staying in an updated room. So I really enjoyed it. I'm very excited for you guys to see my room tour and for me to share a little bit more about our stay there. Seems like your Disney break has rejuvenated you. Amazing outfits for Ellie. How are you feeling? Oh, well, thank you. It's very fun shopping for Ellie and all of her little outfits, but I'm feeling really, really good. I know last fall I shared on my channel a little bit that I was feeling a little burnt out with going to Disney and creating content. We were just going so often, and I was like, this is not sustainable. I don't know how long I can do this. And I think I just needed to take a break from it for a little bit. And I really spent the month of most of November into December sharing home vlogs. I did Vlogmas. I did a lot of non-Disney content, which I think was really refreshing. Did it perform well on my Disney-based channel? Not at all. but it was really fun to share a different aspect of me and who I am outside of Disney. So I think that kind of gave me that rejuvenation that I needed, and it helped me to come back into the new year, coming in January, into my trip in January, feeling like, okay, I'm excited for our trip. I love Disney. I'm excited for our Disney trips again. So obviously you can tell the frequency of my Disney trips has bumped back up since last fall. And I think a huge factor in that was taking a break from sharing Disney content. You know, I continued to create content and share other pieces of my life, which I think that was the thing that helped me go into 2024 feeling really refreshed. I'm feeling really good, really confident in the fact that this is my job. And I think it took me a long time to actually say that, especially to people in my real life. I think it felt silly for a long time when people would ask me like, oh, what do you do? My response would be like, I'm a mom. And I never really wanted to share this part of my life, but I have definitely moved past that, thank goodness. And now when people ask me in my real life, like, what do you do? I can confidently share with them. I create content on taking little kids to Disney World, and I share tips and reviews for families to feel equipped planning their Disney vacation. And I share content on YouTube and Instagram, and people's response are like, whoa, that's really cool. And the fact that I can say this is my full-time job, it took me a while to embrace that. Now, granted, it wasn't until about 6 months to a year ago to where this was a full-time income, but within this past 6 months, it took a little bit for me to be able to accept that. Anyway, I'm feeling good. I'm sure you can tell the frequency of my Disney trips has increased again. So I'm feeling good. And I love what I do. I love creating and sharing content on Disney World. All right, I'm gonna end it there. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, thank you. Make sure that you are subscribed if you are not already. That way you can be notified when my next Disney vlog goes live. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.